Do you want to know exactly how much you need to be eating and what you need to be eating to guarantee that you will get that lean, fit, sexy body that you feel amazing in, that you're dreaming of? Well, stick around, watch this video, because I'm going to explain exactly step by step how to know the right amount of food for your body and your goals so that you can look and feel the way that you've always wanted to every single day, year round. What's going on, Fit Fam? Welcome on back to my channel. My name is Megan Janice, the founder of Nomadic Fitness, and I teach you ladies how to eat way more food without any restrictions and work out smarter instead of harder so you can build that sexy hourglass feminine body that you also feel amazing in and maintain it year round for life. So if you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that like and subscribe. Come give me a follow over on Instagram to get more of my content. And if you're coming on back, thanks so much for joining for another video. Okay, fam, let's get into how you know that you're eating the right way, that you're eating the right amount and right types of food to guarantee that you will get that lean, toned, fit body. So first off, we must always remember that a lean, toned body is nothing more than a body that doesn't have that much body fat and it has lots of muscle. It is the combination of these two things. It is not weighing a certain amount, because you can lose weight but still look skinny fat, still look mushy and shapeless. We can see this here in my before and after. I'm exactly the same weight in both of these photos, but you can see obviously on the left I was skinny fat and now I'm way more toned, way more shapely. That is because now I have a lot more muscle and a lot less fat. So that is what you want to be achieving. So there's really three components that are involved to getting these results. The first is to eat according to the correct macros. So this is more than just eating healthy, more than just eating clean, and more than just dieting or, cutting out food groups. It's specifically that you are paying attention to the amount of food that you're eating more so than just what you're eating. Yes, food quality still matters, but you need to be getting the right amount of protein, fats, and carbs to guarantee that your body will change the way that you want to see it. So your macros is simply that, protein, fats, and carbs. And I'm going to explain how to calculate exactly what's the right amount for you. The second thing is you need to be lifting weights. Now, you don't need to do this a lot, just 3 or 4 times a week for about 45 to 60 minutes is plenty. What matters is that you push yourself hard within that given time frame. So every single set that you do, you should be training to your absolute maximum intensity, absolute maximum effort, and really doing clean, good quality, full range of motion, controlled reps. That is what is going to make your muscles feel super stimulated, and that's what's going to make them grow. And then the last thing is you need to go through different phases of building your body, right? We know that we want to lose fat and gain muscle. So there's 3 different phases that you can be in that's going to help with a certain part of that process. Sometimes you're going to need to do what's called reversing or a reverse diet, which is where you intentionally increase the amount of food that you eat so that your maintenance level, meaning how much you have to eat to stay exactly the same as you are right now, will become higher. So getting your body to burn more calories all of the time, make you more metabolism efficient. And the other 2 phases are building or bulking, as it's sometimes called, which is where you go into a calorie surplus, where you're actually trying to gain weight because the intention is you are trying to gain as much muscle as you possibly can. And the other is a cut, where you go into a fat loss phase created by a calorie deficit so we can maximize how much fat we can get off your body. Okay, so let's start with how you figure out what your macros should be to begin with at all. So the way you're going to figure this out is you're going to track everything that you eat for the next 7 days in an app like MyFitnessPal. That's the one that we use in our coaching. So try to track as accurately as you possibly can, and don't try to eat in any other specific way. Don't try to eat healthier, because right now we're just trying to find out what is your body actually adapted to. So what you're going to do is you're going to tally up all 7 days, and then you're going to divide it by 7 to find the calorie average. Now, once you have the average, you're going to set macros based on what those calories are. So I'm going to walk you through that. So let's say you ended up finding out that your average intake was 1,800 calories. Maybe one day it's like 1,500, the next day it's 2,300. Doesn't matter. Let's say the average is 1,800. Okay, so the first thing you're going to set is protein. Generally speaking, a woman should eat somewhere between 130 to maximum 150 grams of protein a day. You do often hear this whole 1 gram per pound of body weight in protein. I think that as close to that within the 130 to 150 range is ideal, but you don't need to be going higher than that, really, because let's say you're a woman who weighs 200 pounds. Well, a lot of that weight is also going to be your fat mass, and the amount of protein you eat doesn't need to go to body fat. It's really only needed for your muscle mass. So pick somewhere in the 130 to 150 grams per day, as close to what your body weight is, and you're gonna set that. So just to make this easy, let's say you weigh 130 pounds, then we're gonna set your protein at 130 grams a day. Okay, so write that down. Now we're gonna go to fat. So fat is the only one that you should think of as a percentage. So your fat intake should be somewhere between 25 to 30%. You don't really wanna go much higher than that, because if you're eating too much fat from food, you most likely will struggle to lose fat on your body, simply because fat from food is going to convert to fat on your body the most easily. And the other thing is that 1 gram of fat is 9 calories, whereas 1 gram of protein and carbs is 4 calories. So it's just easier to overeat your fat. So let's take 1800 calories and I'm gonna multiply it by 0.3 to get what 30% of calories towards fat would be. So I get 540. So since 1 gram of fat is equivalent to 9 calories, I'm gonna divide that by 9 and we get 60 grams. So your protein is 130 grams, your fat is 60 grams. So now we're going to figure out what your carbs should be. And your carbs is always going to be whatever is left over after you figured out your protein and fat. So carbs isn't a specific percentage or specific grams, it goes just by whatever are the remaining calories. So to figure that out, we have to know how many calories go to fat and protein right now. So 130 grams of protein multiplied by 4, because 1 gram of protein is equivalent to 4 calories, is 520 calories. And then we're gonna add the 540 calories from fat and we get 1060 calories. Okay, since your total daily target is 1800, we're going to subtract 1060 and we're left with 740 calories that can go to carbs. Okay, 1 gram of carbs is equivalent to 4 calories as well. So we're gonna take 740 divided by 4 and we're left with 185. So those are really good starting macros: 130 protein, 60 fat, 185 carbs. Okay, so now this is what you're going to do. You are going to hit these macros at least 5 days a week, if not 6 days a week, consistently. So how can you guarantee that you are going to hit your macros? You need to, number one, pre-log what you're going to eat ahead of time. So this means go into the app MyFitnessPal, and for tomorrow, I want you to plan out every single thing that you're gonna eat, any milk or sugar that's gonna go into your coffee, any little snacks, any condiments that you're gonna use. Plan out everything in the app, so your breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks. And then what you're going to do is essentially you're going to play Tetris, where you're gonna go back and forth and you're gonna adjust the amounts of ingredients in meals as needed until you are within 5 grams plus or minus of each of those macros. Now, this might seem a little overwhelming in the beginning, but trust me, just get started. It will get easy. And all it really takes is a little bit of planning, a little bit of intention, and you'll be nailing it. The other thing is you must get a digital kitchen scale. If you are just trying to hit your macros by eyeballing and estimating your food, there's obviously so much room for error. So we don't want that. We want to know that you are for sure eating the right amount, because we want to for sure get you the results you want. So taking a small kitchen scale and actually measuring out your food by weight instead of by volume, like with tablespoons and cups, where there's a lot of potential room for error, is going to mean that you are for sure hitting your macros. Now, you do this 5 or 6 days because you do still get to have a little bit of a life outside of this, right? Obviously, it's hard to only ever eat exactly what you have planned. So in order for you to still be able to go out, once or twice a week and just enjoy yourself with your friends, that is where you can have your free meals. So 1 or 2 free meals per week, which is where you simply are eating something in a restaurant that you yourself did not prepare. And because of that, you obviously don't know for sure what the macros are. But the rest of the time, hit your macros. Now, I want to make a disclaimer and say once you get to the point that you have the fit physique you want, you can have a little bit more wiggle room with this. You don't need to always be so on it with your macros, but anytime you want to see big changes in your physique, you want to be losing fat, you want to be gaining more muscle, this is the fastest, most guaranteed way to ensure that it will actually happen. So even though it might sound like, oh my gosh, this is a lot of work, this is a lot of effort, I promise you it's really not that much. And think of it like this: if you're going to be spending all this time doing all these workouts, all this cardio, and eating super clean, then wouldn't you rather just take one extra moment to guarantee that you're actually eating the right amount for you? And then the other plus is a lot of the time you'll realize that you haven't been eating enough. You've actually been under eating because you weren't actually aware of what your measurements with food should have been or what the portion should have been. And the other fun thing is that you realize nothing is technically off limits. Yes, obviously we do want to be eating lots of good quality food, lots of clean whole foods, lots of fruits and vegetables to get that fiber for the most part. But you'll see that, if you want to have more peanut butter, you can. If you want to add more steak, you can. Whatever foods you enjoy, eat lots of them. It's all just about fitting it in within the parameters that you have. Okay, so now let's talk about how you start adjusting these macros as you are going through your fitness journey, because the biggest mistake that so many people make, including me in the past, is they set their macros just once and then they never change them. This doesn't make sense because we need to be dedicated to a specific phase. We're either doing a reverse, a cut, or a build. And depending on what our goal is, where we are right now and where we want to be, that's going to determine which of the phases that you're going to do. So generally speaking, pretty much everyone is going to need to do some amount of a reverse to begin with. And this is because it's just ideal to kind of try and optimize your metabolism and your body's efficiency at least a little bit before you start to move into either a build or a cut. So the way that you're going to know if you need to increase or decrease your food is you need to be tracking data of your body every single week. So what I mean by that is you need to, number one, take progress photos every single week, because how can you know that your body composition is improving, meaning that you're losing fat, gaining more muscle, if you're not actually documenting the way that you look? So this is super important, photos every week. And then the other thing is to be weighing yourself every single morning, very first thing, after using the bathroom, but before eating or drinking anything, and ideally naked, or at least if you can't do it naked, then always in the same amount of clothing so that it's not going to mess with the data. Now, why does weighing yourself matter? It's not because the number in and of itself matters, but what does matter is the trend overall. Because if we see that right now you are gaining on the intake that you're eating, then we know, okay, this is maybe a little bit of a surplus for you. Or if we see that you're maintaining on the amount you're eating, then again, we know it's maintenance for you. So the trend of what we see happening with the scale relative to what we see in your photos is going to let you know what's the direction you need to move in. And then the last thing to pay attention to is your biofeedback. So every week when you do your photos, I want you to also evaluate what was your hunger like, what was your sleep, stress, and energy levels like, because this will also give you insight into what all the rest of the data is. So you need to look at it really holistically. So most people usually have a decent bit of body fat that they want to lose. So I will tell you right now that the trajectory most people are going to have to take is a little bit of a reverse and then moving into a cut so that they can take all that body fat off that they want to lose. The reason that you would do a little bit of a reverse before you go into the cut is, again, so that you can have a higher maintenance point. You can be eating more total calories before you start to drop them, so that way you just have more room to work with and a more efficient metabolism, and also the ability to gain some muscle so that once you cut down, you will have something to show. So most people are going to need to reverse, cut, and then reverse again out of that cut. And then if they got lean enough, they can move into the build phase, because in the build phase, you are going to gain some weight. So you need to make sure that you are lean enough to be in a position to gain. But there's other people who are not going to be able to lose all the fat they have to lose in just one cut. So in this case, they will need to go back into a second cut, reverse again, and then decide whether they cut or build. Now, if you're somebody who is at a starting point where you are quite skinny already, then there's a good chance that you will be able to reverse and then go right into a build and not have to cut, because obviously you don't actually have weight to lose. You're in the opposite position where you more so have weight to gain. And this can apply even with people who are a little bit skinny fat. You might think that doing a cut would be the right thing for you, but actually some of the time you will respond so well to the reverse that you can actually just move into a build after the reverse because you'll get lean enough in the reverse itself. I've had this happen with 2 different clients whose photos I will show here, and these before and afters were just from reversing and then moving them into a build. We didn't have to do a cut. So it's all going to be dependent on how your body responds, which is once again why you need to be taking photos, why you need to be tracking your weight, etc. Okay, so let's talk about how you would actually take yourself through a reverse. So again, we're going to use the 1800 calorie example here. So this person has been weighing themselves every single day and they've been taking weekly progress photos. So let's talk about all the different scenarios that could happen when you're looking at the data. The first is that as you are getting consistent with these macros, as you're strength training, you start to notice that your weight is starting to trend down a little bit. If this happens, absolutely you should be increasing your calories. So how do you increase? You're going to do somewhere between 60 to 100 calories. Sometimes it could be even a little bit more, but most of the time it's going to be somewhere in there because the whole point is it has to be gradual so that your body can adapt and it's not suddenly going to be in a surplus of calories. Now the increase in calories should be mainly coming from carbs. It can also be a little bit from fat. And let's say if you're not yet eating as much protein as you should be, then yes, it would also go to protein, but we're just assuming that you already set your protein at where it needs to be. So if you're going to increase carbs, you're gonna pick either 15 grams of carbs, which would be a 60 calorie increase, or maybe you're gonna do a combination of carbs and fats. The reason that you would be increasing fats is because again, you wanna keep the fats in the 25 to 30% range. So as your calories are going up, the fats are gonna have to increase a little bit at some point to stay in that percentage. So maybe you would do 10 grams of carbs and 5 grams of fat, which would be 85 calories of an increase. Or you might do a full 100 calorie increase, which would be 25 grams of carbs. So how do you know how much you should do? Should it be only 60 calories or should it be more like 100 calories? Well, if you are losing weight, if your body composition is improving, and if especially you notice that you're getting hungrier, that's when you can err on the side of going a little bit higher. But let's say you look at your week and you notice that you're not really feeling any hungrier, you're maybe not losing any weight, or maybe you might even have gained a little bit of weight, which don't panic if this is the case. That doesn't mean that you've gained body fat. But if you are gaining, that's where you would either decide, okay, I'm not gonna increase at all this week. I'm gonna give it a little bit more time. Or if you did increase, it would just be on the slight side. So obviously it's a little bit hard for me to really explain all of this. This is why it is so valuable to work with an expert, a one-to-one coach like what we offer, where we just tell you exactly what to do because we can look at the full data of what's happening with your body and know what the right decision is. Okay, so now let's talk about if in 1 week your weight has maintained and you either look the same in your photos or maybe you're starting to look even a little bit better. Obviously just in 1 week, it's probably not a big difference, but as the weeks are adding up, it's gonna start to happen. So let's say your body composition is improving and your weight is staying the same. That's usually still going to mean that it is safe for you to be increasing in your reverse. And let's say your weight is staying the same and you still look the same. That's where you can decide, maybe you're going to wait another week before you increase, or you actually could go ahead maybe with a small increase. Now, kind of the last case scenario is that you are gaining weight as you are increasing food. Now, like I said, this doesn't mean that you're necessarily gaining body fat because as you're eating more, number one, since you're also training, you should be gaining a little bit of muscle. But also since you're eating more, you are holding a little bit more gut weight, you're holding a little bit more water weight, especially from eating more carbs, and you also have more glycogen from the carbs. So that's the energy we store inside of our muscles. So those things also contribute to a little bit of gain on the scale, which doesn't mean that you're gaining body fat. However, generally speaking, if you are seeing a little bit of gain on the scale as you increase your food and you're not seeing your body composition improve from that, that's where you want to take your reverse a little bit more cautiously and not be moving so fast. There are some cases where you're gaining on the scale, but your body composition is obviously improving. And especially if you're somebody who doesn't have that much weight to lose, then this would be okay for you to increase. So now the question to ask yourself is, where do you stop your reverse? And this is going to depend on if you are somebody who needs to go into a cut or if you're somebody who's already small enough that you could move into a build. So let's talk about if you're going to move into a build. This would simply be that once you are in the position that you're actually gaining weight, so you're no longer losing weight, you're no longer even maintaining your weight, you finally have got to the point that you're starting to gain weight, that is when you are in the build. So I made a whole other video about how to build, which I'll link below, that goes more into the specifics of what to do in this phase. Now, if you're like most people, you're probably going to need to do a cut because most people have some body fat that they need to lose. So how do you know where to end your reverse before you go into a cut? Well, again, this is going to come down to how well your reverse goes and how your body responds. If you are at least maintaining your weight and more or less maintaining your body composition, then you can probably end your reverse somewhere between 1,800 to 2,000 calories, maybe a little bit higher than that, so that you're going to have room to drop in your deficit. You'd probably stay on the lower end of that if you're a smaller woman all around, if maybe you're a little bit older, if you're not super active, and again, if you have a good bit of fat that you want to lose. Now, if you're somebody who's losing weight in your reverse, or at least if you're not losing, your body composition is improving, then probably you're fine to end your reverse above 2,000 calories, 21, 22, 23, maybe even 25, 26. Again, it really depends on how your body responds, so you need to be paying attention to that. And then from there, that's when you would start to go into your cut. So I'm not going to explain exactly how to do a cut in this video because it's already getting kind of long, and I already made an in-depth video about exactly how to take yourself through a cut after you've done a reverse, so I will link that again in the description box. All right, now let's say that you are somebody who's not losing weight, maybe you're actually gaining a little bit of weight in your reverse, then that's where you can't really take your reverse that far, because if you're gaining weight and you have fat to lose, it's different if you're gaining weight, but your body composition is improving. That's where you can continue to increase. But if you're gaining weight and you're not improving your body composition and you already have a good bit of body fat to lose, this is where, yes, you want to do a reverse to be ready to go into a cut, and that's where you're really going to see the majority of the results, but you don't want to push it too far. So normally I'd want you to reverse to at least 1,800 calories, but you, again, are just going to have to see how it goes. I want to do much less than that, maybe 17 at the lowest, and then from there, you can move into your cut. But most people are going to be able to get closer to 2,000 calories, even up to as much as 2,500 calories with a reverse. Again, it all depends on how your body responds. You need to be able to evaluate the data and decide what's the right thing for you. So I know that this is a lot of information. So if you want to see your dream results, you want to guarantee that it's going to happen, and you want to get there as fast, as easily as possible, then click on the link in the description to come check out our one-to-one coaching, because this is exactly what we do for you. We tell you exactly how much to eat. We evaluate every single week what decisions need to be made with your protocols, and we also guide you through how to lift weights better so that you actually look like somebody who lifts weights. So click on the link in the description, and if it seems like something you want to check out, you can schedule a free consultation call with us. All right, Fit Fam, thanks so much for checking out this video. So next up, you can go here and watch the video about how to do a cut after you have done the reverse, setting your macros, getting your calories where you want to be, and now how to drop them for maximum fat loss. I'll see you in that video.